Okay, so today's seminar will be the last seminar this year, and next year I'm not planning many seminars unless somebody will want to make a presentation, then please let me know. Okay, so today's seminar is reviewing year 2022, bad things, good things, what we did, what happened on the planet. And this is the list of topics. It's all over the place. So let's start. First, well, bad things are still happening in 2022. And there are some of these bad things. For example, there is a 62% decline in sperm count since 1970. Very depressing. And why it's happening? Maybe because of food or plastic, chemicals, or maybe because people are mostly sitting and not moving enough. Ultra processed foods. Well, nobody knows exactly, but well, like this is a shame. 62%, more than half. Media becomes more and more negative, and this can be even tracked over the last 2 years. War in Ukraine, it's massive, senseless deaths and destruction, right? United Nations climate report, global warming still goes. COVID deaths. So this is the recent map, and you see that USA is not doing well. Like the more red, the more deaths per million. Obesity. Well, this map shows percentage of obese people in different states. It used to be green, like that means very few obese people. But now, look, there is no green at all. And rates of obesity vary between 25 and 50%. So it's very bad. World hunger. At the same time, many people are hungry, and in the last several years, the number grew by 150 million due to conflicts, climate change, COVID, many reasons. So we have a lot of problems. But good things are happening too, and in fact, we have all reasons to be optimistic. I really want you to read Peter Diamandis. Here are some links. He is very famous Greek American. In Greece, they created a postal stamp with his face. He started X Prize competition. His website. He has a podcast, TED lectures, abundance. He has a book about abundance. Amazing guy. And also Ray Kurzweil, who is famous for his, well, original book, The Age of Spiritual Machines. I remember reading it 20 years ago, and I was really walking up the walls, the ceiling, because he was predicting things which were unbelievable, but they all came through. He's just amazingly good at predicting because he understands that development happens not linearly, but exponentially. And his second book is The Singularity is Near, where he talks about AI taking over, like becoming better than human, which should change like our civilization. Um, anyway, he now works at Google and, well, invited by Larry Page. Larry is amazing, right? Like because of him, we have not just Google, we have YouTube acquisition and Android acquisition. That's a separate story about Larry. But anyway, Peter Diamandis, when he talks about what's happening, he says that what we have is exponential growth in technologies, famous Moore's law, doubling every 1 or 2 years, which gets faster and faster in many areas. And exponential growth leads to abundance. For example, cost of solar power may become very, very cheap, which changes so many things. And the steps of exponential growth are digitization, deception, which is deceptively slow growth at the beginning of exponential growth. And then it gets faster and faster and faster, and you have disruption. So new technologies kill old technologies. Prices go down, demonetization, dematerialization, like many old manufacturing facilities or whatever institutions they just cease to exist, right? For example, oil refineries will start to vanish because people will switch to electrical, solar, and who knows what. Democratization, because prices becomes very low, anybody can have the products, the services, and these are the steps. It's 6 Ds, right? Digitization, deception, disruption, demonetization, dematerialization, democratization. And this sequence applies to all grand challenges our world faces, like food, water, shelter, energy, communication, education, healthcare, freedom, everything. And if you go to his website and listen to his podcast, he gives multiple examples in different areas, and which really makes you very, very optimistic about development. Um, Here are some recent, well, I say recent, maybe last 10, 20 years, things which entered our life and changed things dramatically, starting with smartphones, social media, GPS navigation, video audio streaming, YouTube, e-readers, e-books, human genome mapping, cryptocurrency, which is close to my heart because of the new business I'm in, and of course AI, artificial intelligence. Here are some links you can follow, but there are multiple links. You can just Google them. Two of my favorite people, Andrew Ng and Ray Kurzweil, and here they talk about AI. Andrew Ng coined the phrase AI is the new electricity. So he was saying how electricity came in our life 120 years ago and changed everything and penetrated everything. And AI is like electricity, will also change our lives in many ways, which now is difficult to predict, right? And another thing he mentioned recently is that AI could empower any business. Up until now, AI was mostly servicing big businesses because it's expensive to create models and to maintain them. But as technology becomes better, it becomes more affordable. So again, we're following these 6 steps, right? It becomes more affordable. So we enter democratization of AI. And so what if your local pizza shop could use AI to predict which flavor would sell best each day of the week? It is possible as AI becomes more accessible, less expensive, any business will be able to make better decisions, thus increasing profit and productivity. Andrew Yang. Ray Kurzweil, I spoke about him already, and he talks if we should be afraid of AI or we should welcome, and he believes that ultimately AI will benefit us in the same way as previous technologies have. My view is not that AI is going to displace us, but is going to enhance us. It does it already. Okay, and this is answering questions because the singularity is near his book, where he describes, well, how machines will become smarter than people, and people are afraid of this. Okay, now I'll talk about, well, science. I want to talk about Nobel Prize in Physics in 2022. And this particular thing is amazing because when I was a student, um, this effect was not known. It was hypothetical. And the work, like these 3 people, proved something independently of each other. You see, John Clauser, it is 1972, and then Alain Aspect, 82, and then Anton Zeilinger in 1998. So what they did, they proved violation of Bell inequalities, right? So different countries would have better and better and better proof of this. So I want to explain what it is and why it is important. So it comes back to the argument between Einstein and Bohr, and it's called the EPR paradox, Einstein, Podolsky, Rosen, 1935, so a long time ago. So this is a simple thought experiment in which a pair of particles are created in entangled state. So they're moving in opposite directions same mass, same speed, opposite spins. So you had some particle which then split into two, which are moving in opposite directions. But they have the same mass, same speed, and opposite spin, so they're absolutely equal, just opposite, right? So here you have these two particles, Alice and Bob, and this is the source, and you see how they go in different directions. If the position of particle A is measured, Alice, we thus can predict the position of B. This action taken on A particle could not instantaneously affect the B, because we can wait until Alex and Bob will go far, far away from the source, right? And then we simultaneously measure position of Alice and momentum or speed of Bob, right? And if we do that, then it looks like we have at the same time position and momentum. And this contradicts the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. This is like a central principle of quantum mechanics, according to which the position and the velocity of the object cannot be both measured exactly at the same time, even in theory. So this constitutes a paradox. Einstein never believed in quantum mechanics. He thought it's like a terrible thing. It's not true. It cannot be true. Like he was non-believer. And Bohr said, there's no paradox here. He was saying that the both particles are actually, because they're coming from the same source, it's part of the same system, and they both described by the same wave function. So you cannot consider them independent. They're part of the same system. And very interesting, right? Difficult to imagine. So Bohr is a genius by even like daring to think like that. And actually, this experiment, this Nobel Prize, prove that Bohr was right. And that changing something on one particle actually changes in the other particle. It's kind of interesting. So experimental proof involves sending some particles. Usually people use photons, and measuring their spins. And what's interesting that like when I graduated, it was 1981, so it was not tested. It was not known. It was not part of physics programs in universities. But nowadays, it can be like tested in undergraduate laboratory courses in any like physics college. Okay, why it is important? Because using this technology, like what happens if somebody influences one of the particles, one of the photons, right? We could detect it. And people have created devices, so they send photons via fiber optics, and they can detect intrusion. So you can know if somebody tried to read your message, somebody tried to hack the transmission. This is absolutely amazing. The only thing that stops it from practice is not even the price. The price went down just a few $1,000s, but the distance. Most recent demo was 60 something miles. It's Chinese developers did that via optical fibers. Well, but it's getting there, right? It's getting better. And this means really great security transmitting messages. Okay, nuclear fusion. This is this month. This is, in fact, just like 2 weeks ago. What happened? Well, nuclear fusion. What is nuclear fusion? So you have deuterium and tritium, which is one proton and two protons nucleus, and then you fuse them so to get helium and one neutron and a lot of energy, right? So this is the reaction. The way it was done, the substances were like put like a very, very small amount into like a small cylinder, and then 192 giant lasers blasted this cylinder about the size of a pencil eraser, so really small. And it's very short. It's like a small blast, like explosion, and it generates some energy. So you can uh, figure out how much energy was released. And why this is so notable, this event, is because this is the first time where the energy put in was less than the energy which they got out. So output of energy was more than input of energy. Of course, this is energy of laser beams, but laser beams are not very efficient. And if you calculate the total amount of electrical energy which you put into the system, well, you realize that, well, you cannot make like electrical generator of this still, right? There is still a lot of work to be done before it become practical. This fusion power still consumes 130 times more energy than it creates because of inefficiency of how energy is delivered. But well, still, it's a great success. And yeah, so this is set up. You see some people standing here. You see this cylinder, laser beams which go into there. Okay. Next, Hubble telescope finds a black hole igniting star formation. Well, this is the telescope. This is the old one, and um, well, the theory is that black holes described as monsters which tearing apart stars, but this new development is that they actually can be a source of creating stars. So this is very exciting. And this is another telescope, which is James Webb Space Telescope. Oh, it was a long, long journey, about 30 years to build it and finally send it into the space in the end of 2021. And like this is a really the biggest one, the biggest space telescope ever built. And it can create very interesting imagery of far, far away in the universe, in the space. Record-breaking laser link. I wasn't like sure to include it or not, but it's interesting. So the point was to send a laser beam in the atmosphere while maintaining stability of the signal. And this is the record-breaking 2.4 kilometers. And developing of this technology may help to synchronize atomic clocks. You can even like check the Einstein general theory of relativity. The clock in space should run slightly faster than the one on the ground. So it's basically improving technology. Human genome is now complete. So 19 years ago, human genome sequencing achieved 92% sequencing, which is really great. In 2022, it got to 100%, so no gaps. And this is a huge achievement. So over 3 billion base pairs across 23 chromosomes and no gaps. Another interesting thing, yeah, you can see on this graph how it was going over the years. So there was a big progress around year 2000, and then it kind of slowed down, and recently, boom, it reached 100%. January 2022, team reports the fastest ever sequencing of a human genome accomplished is just 5 hours and 2 minutes. Amazing. Okay, AlphaFold. So DeepMind is a company in Europe. It was, as you know, acquired by Google, and so far it was burning billions of dollars, making very interesting projects but not being profitable. Well, you know about chess and AlphaGo and other interesting things. And here is another win, which is called AlphaFold. So what they did, they used deep learning to predict the structure of the protein, the three-dimensional structure. Well, if you know the sequence of the base pairs. So on July 28, the team uploaded to the database the structures of around 200 million proteins from 1 million species, covering nearly every known protein on the planet, which is an unbelievable achievement. And this database is, I think it's available for everybody, definitely for science. So this is great. Can be used in medical research to predict how uh, how medicine works or not. Okay, peak to human heart transplantation. Again, very brave development. Transplantation over the years was developing very fast and successfully. Here, I just want to show, for example, a picture of a young boy. And in 2015, both of his hands were transplanted. So he lost both his hands and he received transplants. And now he can play baseball, right? So this year, in 2022, doctors transplanted a genetically modified pig heart into a human. Well, the patient was dying, and there is no transplant. So it's either die or agree to the surgery. So he agreed, and he lived 2 months after that, and he died. But still, it's a very brave development, definitely notable. People of the year. Well, there are multiple lists of most influential people of the year. You can find them and look. It's just interesting to see who is who on the planet. I want to note Billie Eilish. So she's the only one born in this century who became one of the top influencers on the planet. So he's a Grammy Award winning and record breaking superstar. So you can, well, I guess listen to her on YouTube. And by the way, talking about women, it's amazing successes women make everywhere in business, in science, in art. Yeah, so very interesting. Brookings Institution, the most influential research institution in social sciences, economics, and politics. And this is also interesting. I will be talking about how people live their lives playing different games, using different rules, and so on. I was always in science and technology, but what if you want to do politics or economics? And then it's a completely different game, completely different people. And so this institution is utmost famous around the world. So it was founded more than 100 years ago. It is in Washington, D.C. It conducts research in social sciences, economics, metropolitan policy, government, foreign policy, global economy, economics development, and so on, so on, so on. He was named Think Tank of the Year and Top Think Tank of the World every year since 2008. Many famous politicians and famous people in economics and like they came from this organization. So something to know. China has overtaken United States as the world's leader in science. Well, embarrassing, but it's true. So this is actually the, I don't know, China should be moved to the first place. Okay, this happened this year, and this is based on many criteria, including number of papers and patents and so on. ChatGPT, recent development from OpenAI. OpenAI is a non-profit organization developing AI, And ChatGPT can talk to you and can answer your questions, and it has vast knowledge about the world. So it is as knowledgeable as Google, but when you ask Google a question, Google just gives you some links. Whereas if you ask ChatGPT, it actually answers the question using the same information and it gives you recommendation. So systems like ChatGPT probably will um, well, overtake Google. I don't know if Google will die or it will assume same functionality as ChatGPT has, but it definitely will change many industries and probably will be a foundation for customer service and many other things. Okay, this is our weekly seminar in 2022, and you see the dates and the titles. So there was a lot of interesting things. There were lectures about machine learning, about management, time series forecasting. We had the 3 lectures, I think. SQL Server, cryptocurrency, astronomer, which is well, how you schedule your jobs on the cloud, right? Functional programming, Plotly, and Dash. Analysis of Bitcoin pricing, quantitative reasoning of descriptive statistics. This was a very good lecture. We had another lecture which I don't see here about portfolio management. Then we had several lectures about coding interview with many examples over several lectures, algorithms. Oh, okay. Malta did a lecture about TSQL window functions, which I actually really like this lecture. Um, okay, what else we had? Mark made a lecture about baseball, Python, how to generate documents. Irina, thank you very much. Code diagrams. Chris made a lecture how to generate diagrams with code. VS Code tutorial and overview, OLAP cubes and why they're good. Chris made a presentation about Git, transformers by Dequan. I also made my own PowerPoint. It's there on GitHub. And today's, it's not really science. It's just reviewing year review 2022, something like that. Okay, going forward. So what I want to say that I'm now working on a startup and I don't have time for this seminar really. So I will slow down. If someone wants to make a presentation, please contact me. We will have one presentation on January 6th. It will be about Azure Data Factory and triggers. And I want to make a general observation. I started in Moscow as a scientist. And so my first game was a scientist, and I have played this game for about 15 years. And then I became a high-paid software engineer consultant on Wall Street and some other companies, and I played this game for 19 years. My third game was a team lead data scientist. I played this game for about 5 years. Actually, I enjoyed it very much. And my current game, it's a new game for me, is being a founder and a CTO of a startup company. It's a completely different game with different books of rules. What I want to say, it's not difficult to change your game. It is fun and it feels really great to learn new games and to build something of value. Why I'm saying this? When I came here, I lived in America for several years, and then I visited Moscow. I visited the National Cardiology Center where I started, and I met some people who are still there doing the same thing. Nothing changed in their life, and they're still there. They're still doing the same thing. So after they got their education in college, they never changed. Uh, for me, it's very depressing. And what I know from experience is that you can change. You can learn the new game. You can learn the new rules. It's not difficult. It takes several months, sometimes maybe a year or two, but I think it's really worth it. And what I want to finish with that I learned from experience. It's a good thing to do, to change your game. And I did it several times, and I encourage you to do the same. Okay, this is it. I'll stop sharing. Hello?
Yes, Leo. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Webb.
Yeah, it's a great. Thank you for first of all for inspiration.
Okay, I'll stop recording just a second.
Yeah.